Good afternoon, everyone. Richa here. Today, I'm really delighted to be, hosting this show on the occasion of Emotional Health Day. Today, we have Miss Ekta Ohri. She's founder of LitJoys, and she's really, really, really learned. She's done so many courses. She's been working. She's a trained architect. She studied abroad, and today she joins us on this special day. So, Ekta, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Richa. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm really excited to talk about this topic of emotional health. Today is like Emotional Health Day, and I've done like these various author sessions and many other talks. But I think this is exciting because it's the first time I'll get to talk about emotional health, which is topic very close to my heart. So
Great,
thank you
Ekta. So,
again.
little introduction about yourself. You're a trained architect, and you have studied, visual and critical, writing, and you've also, worked in corporates, and then you gave it all up, and you decided writing, and you've been designing products and services, and right from a hardcore, business acumen and innovational stuff which you've been doing. How come this path you traversed?
Yeah, so I'll just say I didn't give it all up. In fact, one of the reasons why I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now is because I'm making good use of all my three different backgrounds: architecture, visual and critical studies, as well as anthropology in designing books and all other kinds of innovative learning activities for kids. And I think that's the reason why I'm able to, make a mark in the market as well, because right from the idea stage, where I focus on parenting challenges and societal challenges and instilling these values in children, which parents are struggling right now to instill, right? These ideas, I think, come from a background in anthropology because I'm very sensitive to the cultural demands of the society and parents, and being a parent myself. And I think my background in architecture definitely helps in designing taking charge of designing these things. A lot of people asked me earlier, why didn't you go for a publisher? I said I have a background in design, right? So why should I just become an author and send the stories or other things to the publishers, right? It makes more sense to take charge of the design as well. And I think I really enjoy putting that design thinking into play, whether I'm even designing a simple storybook, right? Because my books, they take these different visual formats like a calendar, and sometimes I use like these real life imagery, photographs in the books. It all depends on the content, the topic I'm dealing with. And again, it's because of my three different backgrounds I'm able to make that call, right? And I think create something which is a little bit different or unique from the others. So I think I'm not left it at all, and in fact I'm using all the three now, which I probably wouldn't have been able to do in other jobs.
Great. Awesome. So basically, you've learned a lot of things, and over time, you have tried to, use all your talents and your vision and your acumen. And here we have Lit Joyce. So, we wanted to talk about Not Okay, That's Okay. That's the book, which we are focusing on today. And you'll also, use this medium to help parents and grandparents and family members, learn a little bit more on how to deal with certain situations. So, can you let us know a little bit more? I know it's authored by a cutie pie, a 5 year old when she was younger. Now she's 7, Utsa Banerjee. So, how did this whole concept of mentoring and this book come about?
Yeah, so basically, I got into. I mean, like a lot of people ask me even that, how did I even get into writing for children, or why did I even found Lit Joys, right? So I don't think it just came about because I was just putting my three backgrounds together. Honestly, it very organically involved with a real need. Like, many years ago, there was this very small girl, even younger than Utsa, who just walked into a house, okay, and she was just like hooked onto her iPads, right? And this is like 10 years ago or more. Like now, everybody is very hooked onto the screens, but her behavior, I was not even a parent then, really touched me, right? That she just didn't even interact at all, look up at all. And I was like, there's something going wrong with the way kids are growing up. And then her parents were scolding her all the time. So I felt very bad for the child, right? And and in my previous job I was doing this project on in education space and early grade reading. So I realized that it's now time to put the two together, and I started doing research on how to uh, you know uh, initially disconnect children from technology, the young children, right? Like not older ones, and how to get them more interested in reading and all. And I realized getting them closer to nature is the best way to do it, right? That's where my first book came about, because I was myself,
Wow.
like, my son was 3 years old, And my first book, My Gulmohar Tree, was talking about that. And I became very, very organically. People still ask me, from being an architect, how did you start? Like, I didn't like think of writing just like 10 years ago or something, right? Because I was having these own explorations with nature, with my own son, and I was always interested in writing. So I thought, why not write this book, My Gulmohar Tree, right? And then I wrote another one, which is City of Stars, which is a book on sustainable living. Then I wrote Time Story, which is a book to inculcate values of time in kids. And then I did a series of other activity oriented products as well. I did a Hindi book also, because as a parent, I realized it's a big challenge to get children to build interest in Hindi. But I think it was most
Wow.
exciting to
Yeah.
meet Utsa. Why I'm giving you that background is because I met Utsa for the first time when I was doing a session at her school, an author session on my book City of Stars, right? And Utsa was a part of that session. And, and I think during the session only she, very casually said, I have written a book too. I said, great, I would love to read it. And I think after the session, her teachers and mom had a dialogue, and her mom wrote to me saying that, my daughter has written so many stories, and she would like to seek your mentorship. And then also she says, if I want, I
Oh,
can, there
wow.
are so many kids who
That's
are
amazing.
I was actually quite honored and thrilled, and because nowadays, as you know, there are so many kids into self-publishing and all of that. So I was quite honored that somebody's reached out to me for mentorship, right?
Wow.
And
That's so
that's when I
enterprising
decided,
and that's so cool.
yeah. So that's when I decided to work with Utsa. And when her mom sent me a whole range of stories written by her. One of the more stories that really touched my heart was this one, Not Okay, That's Okay. The reason being because it's on a topic of emotional health. We all know today's emotional health day, and which is not usually talked about. And we were going through this whole COVID phase. We've all been through it and come out of it, but we know how important emotional health this topic of emotional health has really come out strongly during that phase, right? When we were all separated from our
Yeah.
loved ones. Many of us even lost our loved ones. A lot of us, even if something like that didn't happen, our routines were disrupted, all of that, right? We couldn't go down to exercise when earlier we were locked in, and then we started doing various things like cooking, baking, etc., etc., right, to deal with our emotions, because even adults were struggling. How do you deal with this new
Yeah.
routine lifestyle? And nobody was okay, to be, if you ask me. That's why we kept this title like Not Okay, That's Okay, because nobody was okay that time, right? So I
And
thought
it's
this is a
okay to
very
be not okay, to be sad
yes,
and to be in that phase. But as we practice Buddhism, and we know that a lower lifestyle will lead to a higher lifestyle. So it's okay
yeah,
to understand where you are and work on it so that you can elevate yourself. Really
absolutely,
apt title.
right.
And
So
coming
that's
from
what
such a young girl, I think is really commendable. Her level of consciousness and how she's able to translate her entire feelings.
absolutely. So that's why I thought that this is a good topic to work on. And honestly, not just Utsa, I also learned a lot while working on this topic. Like both as a parent and otherwise, right? Like I give an example that, when our children are suppose getting angry, right? Like earlier, when even my own son, when he used to get angry or whatever, I would earlier say, okay, don't get angry. Okay, it's not good to get angry, right? Or don't cry, or don't be, so we'll just say no, right? But how
Yeah.
many of us actually say, now my own actions and reactions to him have changed? I say, I understand you're angry, and I also know why you're angry, right? But, and I don't even try and reason out to him. I've seen, if I reason out to him and tell him that, but why are you getting angry about this thing? There's something else you could take about, this is not a reason to get angry and all. No. I first, we have to learn to understand and accept their emotions, right? Our kids. And then I think what I loved about Utsa's story, there's this part in the story when she's like, the book is right here, by the way. Can you see? Like, Not Okay, That's Okay.
Wow. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's this part of the story where Utsa is talking about that she's getting bored at home, right? Like, so this is also an emotion to deal, what to do. And she's created this slide mattress for herself so that she doesn't miss the slides in the park, right? So I felt that was such a positive way of channelizing your emotions, right? Negative emotions. So forget COVID or whatever. Like, even a lot of times our kids are always saying, "Oh, we're getting bored, we're getting bored," and again we'll say, "Okay, go and do something." Go and do painting, but we're not encouraging the creativity, or we're not pushing up kids towards positivity and saying you can do something else also. So similarly, if your child is getting angry, like, to going back to that, now I tell him, okay, fine, you're angry, you can take your
Yeah.
time. I also understand why you're angry. And I understand that it's okay to be angry in this moment because of this, because he's a child, right? He has his own reasons to get
Of
angry.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like I try to give him a solution to calm him down so that he can first calm down first, instead of blaming him that, you are, why are you getting angry for such a small thing. That's what we often tend to do, right, as parents, like, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, without understanding or accepting the emotions. And what I like about this book is it's not going to only teach you to how to understand and accept different emotions, but also manage them, which is, I think, very, very important, right? There it's written like it's to express their emotions honestly, and then even adapt to new situations. Like a lot of times, see, COVID is behind us, hopefully, for a lot of us. But a lot of times, kids and even adults, we are, facing these unexpected challenges, right?
Of
I
course,
mean,
yeah, it's
something
there
is
all the time.
it's all the
The
time.
cases of bullying, the cases of, heartbreak now I keep seeing, the
Yeah,
cases of, competition,
yeah,
peer pressure, studies pressure. Some people, some kids fear maths, they fear, public speaking. So there are a lot of things which you never know what comes up in your
yeah.
life
And some of
and
the
your
things are
kid's life at
totally,
that point
yeah.
in time.
Yeah, so some of the things are totally unexpected, right? And
Yeah,
so kids, whether it's kids or adults, we all go through like his whole myriad of emotions on a day-to-day basis, right? So how
great.
to deal with these negative emotions and accept. See, even though we practice Buddhism, we still go through some of these emotions, right?
Of
So
course,
first to
yeah, we are humans.
understand that it's okay at times to have those emotions, and but the bigger thing, as you're saying, is that how to deal with them in a positive way. And I think that's what this book does to you, right? It teaches you that, right? It's a very simple yet very powerful story written in a light-hearted way, and which will get kids and both adults sort of thinking about
Yeah, of
how
course.
they can, deal with their emotional health.
So coming to that, why do you think parents should care about the emotional health of their children? Because, right now it's a topic and it's Emotional Health Day. Why is it so critical to focus on this aspect? Because lot many times parents don't think it's an important facet to keep in mind.
So, so the reason why I founded LitJoys was because one of the larger visions I had was happier children, right? That I want to help parents raise happier children, right? See, we all say smarter children, this, that, etc. But my goal was that children should grow up to be happy first. And the reason is that if a child is not happy, he or she will never excel in whatever he's doing. Like I'll give an example.
Yeah,
If my son is learning guitar, right, and he's not happy doing it, he will never learn it properly. Like he'll never forget about excelling. He
it's
will
a
not
chore
even
for
learn.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing for him. He'll never learn. Or even at school, right? If a child is not happy, their happiness quotient is impacted. They'll not pay attention to class, their teachers, etc., etc. Right? So when it comes to happiness of children, one of the things I realized, see, I've developed a product. It's a Apple Food menu game, which is dealing with physical health of children. So when my son was small, I was very concerned about his physical health, that he should not eat a lot of junk and this and that.
Yeah.
Because we also know health is happiness, right? We all know this cliche statement that health is happiness, right? But then I think many years ago we never thought that when we're saying health is happiness, we're only being limiting there, and we're only talking about physical health. But I think what COVID has brought out, that phase, right, that actually emotional health is even more important for the happiness, right, of kids, right, so that they can grow up to be very confident, and whatever field they choose or whatever they can, do a great job there, right? So I think that is why emotional health matters, right? Like if your child is always sad or depressed, they will never even do the schoolwork.
Yeah, it will not help beyond a
It will not
point.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will never learn. They will not be good learners. So I think emotional health, if you ask me, is very, very important. Of Very, very important in terms of raising happier kids. And I think that's why I myself as a parent, and it's the hardest to sort of deal with, which is why I
Of
was
course.
excited about this book. That with a simple story, my son is 8.5 and he's reading very advanced books, but he loves, what happened was he had these birthdays of his classmates recently, and for every girl he's like, Mama, give the Utsa's book, and I was very
How
surprised of all.
sweet.
I'm like, why do you want to give that book? Because I think somewhere, and I never questioned him more and beyond, but I think somewhere he also felt that this
It helped
book,
him. It helped
yeah,
him
and
at some
while
level.
it's
Yeah.
it's a short story, but it's helpful for even an 8 and a half year old, and it's fun, it's lighthearted, as I told you. I mean, Utsa herself is going to read some dialogues of it, you'll understand. That
Yeah,
so I was very happy to hear that when the validation was coming from him, that give her book out. All the books he thinks this is going to be the most fun and impactful, right?
I'm sure. So we
Yeah.
have a lot of comments. There are a lot of welcome comments for you. And also, one viewer have asked a question that my son is in class 4 and he's
Mm.
already complaining of bullying and heartbreak. So how can I help him handle this?
That's very okay. So that's interesting because one of the books I'm going to
I
work on
would
for you.
say read the book because parenting is not easy.
Yeah,
Read the
yeah,
book,
yeah.
make him read the
Yeah.
book. When off to you. What's
Yeah,
your
but
take on it?
I think there is a learning in this book, not just kids, but adults should read it too. Like as I was talking earlier in the session, that if a child comes back home, then mom, and even my son does the same. He's also finishing grade 3. Mama, I don't want to talk to that person. Or what happened because she was rude to me, or whatever, or he did something, this. The first thing I obviously try to make him understand. First, you understand the child's emotion. So instead of, like I said, we always parents tend to say, "Oh, but you need to be friends with everyone. You need to not do behave like this. You should not get affected." No, but I think first we should understand. I understand that you are upset right now. I think that statement is very key. I understand you are sad. I understand you are angry. That itself will get the child build that confidence with the parents, and they'll want to listen to their parents first, right? And a lot of times when my own son is very very angry or upset about something, the second thing I do is I hug him. I think Utsa has also talked about this in this book, that the power of hug, so important, right? When somebody is really really angry, whether it's a kid or adult, to calm them down. So that's just showing that gesture of appreciation, like we totally understand where they're coming from, right? Then you talk to them, and I know it's not easy. See, when they're angry, they don't want to listen, they're like, I don't want to hear. I know I have a boy, so I understand how it kind of works, right? It's very hard to settle them down. Mama, but you don't know, but you don't understand this. So see, a lot of parents, kids will say you don't understand. If you don't listen to them, and if you actually don't understand, but you first listen to them why they're upset, and you say, I understand you are upset, then you provide them some positive solutions, around how to deal with their anger. It could be like, a lot of times I tell him, okay, so you're reading, he's reading Asterix nowadays, for instance. He's really enjoying it. Okay, so I said, okay, it's okay, fine, I'll get you a favorite Asterix, maybe, your mood will enlighten. And then suddenly he'll be like, yeah, 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 why not? Later I will talk to him about this whole bullying thing, that it's, you don't need to, it's okay, there are different children, these things happen, all that parenting logic that we have to give, we can give like in the night also, when the moment is gone. But I think first it's very important to understand, accept, and manage their emotions, right? The minute we come in, from a total adult's perspective, that no, you did wrong, or we start lecturing them right away, it's not going to work. We'll create that disconnect. And I think that's what this book does for you. It teaches you how to understand, accept, and manage emotions in a very very positive way. And both kids themselves learn to be positive, and parents also learn that it's okay not to be okay, and how do you deal with that. I mean, one of the good things I liked about this book is talking about different, not just the, see, mother is usually mothers do this, it's their role to counsel or comfort the child. This book is talking about how the father comes in to, how the grandparent comes in to cheer up the girl, grandmother, how even the grandfather is saying, like she cuts her hair and he's saying, oh, it's okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's looking so great. So each and every family member, I think it's not only a mother's job. In fact, each and every family member should come in to support their kids and understand, whoever is living in the household, to manage their emotions. I think you're on mute.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
saying that's the reason we started Family Affairs as a page because we have a mom's group and we have a kids group. So this the whole purpose of our community is that the whole family comes together and we help each other because we are a unit. So coming
Yes.
back to my next question, Ekta, what are the key takeaways? The learnings which will benefit the kids
So
from
as I
reading
just
this
said,
book?
earlier, the one of the things they will learn is, like, see, they may be thrown in unexpected situations. They have to learn. Like, kids today will learn to adapt to new situations, right? I think one of the problems that's going on in, I mean, I don't blame only the kids. It's just today's age and generation, the way things are. They are not, kids today are not flexible, right, they don't, I mean, anything new they have to do, even if it's something like, okay, they're used to traveling in something particular mode of transport, and they
Yeah.
suddenly have to go in a bus, they'll be like, oh, I
Yeah. Where's the
cannot do it.
AC? My son is like, where is the
Yeah,
AC?
yeah,
You know?
absolutely,
Yeah.
right. So the kids will first learn to adapt to new situations. That's very, very important, right, to make them more flexible.
Adaptability.
So if you're like in this book, the situation is that she's away from her mom for 3 weeks. Now, for a five, you may say, what is a big deal? But I think for a 5-year-old girl, it's a big, big deal, right? That to be away
Yeah.
when she was
Yeah.
5, right? So how she adapted to that new situation, right? The things. Then how will they learn? Like that, the part of the book talks about how to even use their creativity or other talents to stay positive. Like, children nowadays, they have so many talents, they're learning so many things and all, so even if they're locked in at home, why should they say I'm getting bored for every small thing? Right, like I think that's a real big problem. COVID, no COVID, all kids, I'm sure every parent has gone through, their children must be telling them when they grow up, I'm getting bored, right? Because they want entertainment 24/7, and they
Yeah.
just don't know how to be happy with themselves also. See, while it's
Yeah.
very good to have these peer engagements and many other things, but there are situations when and COVID showed us those times when you don't have anyone else. So how do you
Yeah.
learn to be happy with yourself, right? And how do you use your own creativity or other talents to stay happy? I think that's
Yeah.
a very, very important
Wow.
thing,
I
learning, which
will.
you get.
I'm gonna buy my copy soon. And viewers, we have some amazing contests coming up. We'll have one or two copies of the books as prizes. Ekta has offered to make this little bit more interactive. So, having said that, also please go through the websites. I'll leave the social media angles. Also, Ekta, I will request you to leave certain pearls of wisdom with us whenever you have time, some tidbits here and there, and obviously we'll be following you now, your books. And I'm so excited about the Hindi book because I think that's a big challenge amongst most of the kids I see today. Hindi as a language, there is a barrier, there's a mental barrier, and also it's a little difficult for them to understand. So I'm just going to go by that. And I'm so happy that you're doing this, someone who's had a flourishing corporate career, and you have thought about giving back in this way, because certain nuances are so difficult. And right now, I'm sure your series are going to help everyone who's watching. One another question, what as a parent should I expect as a learning if I read the book?
Like I said, there's a lot of learning in it as for adults as well. I think kids in this book, particularly, right? See, kids, if they are angry, they will still say, I'm angry, correct? And they will express their emotions. I think with adults, a lot of times, they don't even express their emotions, right? And they forget about learning to manage them and all of that, right? A lot of times, they keep their emotions hidden from their closest of family members, and they're
Yeah.
venting up inside, and honestly, that's why we see high suicide rates in today's society. I don't want to get there, but this has happened in our own extended friend circles, right? That there are people, highly educated people, suddenly you hear the news of suicides, right? And it's very sad or tragic. And the reason why that's happening is because I think more than kids, even adults are struggling more, in fact, to understand their own emotions and even express them, right? And they're keeping them for bottled up inside, and then they'll go and talk to these counselors and all. Not to say anything wrong about that, but I think why should that happen, right? I think first, as adults, we need to first learn to express honestly. Like one of the things which is written at the back cover of this book, that you learn to express your emotions honestly, which I think kids do. They do a great job of expressing, which we adults don't. A
Wow.
lot of us, I'm not generalizing here, but a lot of us don't honestly express our emotions, even to our closest family members, right? So
Of
the
course,
adults will
yeah, we
first
don't.
learn to express their emotions, I think, which is very important for them and emotional well-being. And why should they go get to into stage that they need to go to a counselor, right? That only happens when their emotions are bottled up inside, right? And secondly, then they will understand, they learn from a small girl that even if you're not okay, how you can be okay and positive during that challenging phase. So I think that's another very important learning, which even adults are struggling with nowadays.
Great. So we have a special guest today. I'm so excited to welcome Utsa, our author, our cute little pie who was mentored by, uh, you know, uh, I can't believe it. I'm at loss of words. You have accomplished so much, Utsa. I'm so proud of you. And, you are my first baby guest on the show. Not a baby, I'm sure, but, a little one. So welcome. And you are a first celebrity guest in that age bracket. So welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you have authored this book. And I'm sure your session with Ekta would have been so joyful.
Thank you so much, Richa Aunty and Ekta ma'am. And thank you so much for having me here. It was such a pleasure. And good afternoon, everyone.
So,
I'm going to be just like Richa ma'am said, I'm going to be reading a few pages from my book, Not Okay, That's Okay.
wow, such a proud moment. I'm so excited. Tell us your favorite parts.
Um, First one is page 3. One day in November 2020, Mama fell ill because of a bad virus. Suddenly, I had to be away from her. That made me cry. I would try to open the door of her room, but it didn't open. I often sat outside her room to feel close to her. When I felt like crying, Grandma sang me songs in her mother tongue. I didn't fully understand them, but I loved their melody and learned them too. Grandma would also watch me sing and dance, and then clap for me just like Mama would. That was fun, and I would be cheered up for some time. But then I wouldn't feel okay again. I don't feel okay, Papa, I said to my father. It's okay not to feel okay, said Papa. How is it okay not to feel okay? Asked I asked my papa curiously. We feel many things. Many good and not so good events happen in our lives. So we may feel okay or not too okay. We must be brave and share our feelings. It's okay to cry. It helps us let out our feelings, explained Papa.
Wow, that was phenomenal. I cannot stop smiling. I am so happy. I'm gonna meet you soon and get my personal autograph copy. I'm not gonna
Thank you
order the
so much.
book. I'm gonna meet you and get your signatures. So thank you so much, Utsa. So much. We are so lucky. She had an off today, so she managed to join us as well. I think, this was really, really, really. I'm really grateful to God that we three could come together and we are, talking about the book. So I wish all the parents to, help their kids, deal with the situations in their life. Emotional health is really important. Thank you, Utsa. I'll take your leave and we'll be in touch.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
1 second. Sorry. I just gonna bye bye. Ekta, that's phenomenal. The work which you have done of mentoring Utsa, and I am really, touched. I'm in fact surprised by the lines from the book which she read out. I mean, able to deal and articulate her thoughts and feelings, and as you said, how to make the most of what you have. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, I just love. I think Utsa is a very talented girl. I think I forgot to mention one of the things which she's not only a great writer. I think she's the illustrations that she's drawn in the book. They are beautiful. Like I'll just show you some, and they're just like and I think she was just a not just a great writer, but
My
all
God.
these illustrations are done by her. And I think I just it
Wow.
was my pleasure
I
to
thought
work with
that
her.
was some graphic designer. My goodness.
No, so these
So
are all
text
illustrations
plus
done by
illustrations.
Utsa. Yeah,
Wow.
which is what I think
Highly talented girl.
appeal to kids as well. There's just one last point I would like to make. When I was listening to Utsa talk about her story again, even though I worked with her for a year, I wish all fathers would read this too, because it says it's okay to cry. I know there are a lot of books written on boys can cry too, or boys don't cry, or whatever. There's a whole that notion going on in, but still, I think a lot of parents, it just comes very subconsciously, especially fathers, they just don't, they think crying is a sign of being weak, right? And it's really sad. That's how our society is structured. And they will never cry, whether it's in front of the kids, or a lot of times they will, tell their kids also, please don't cry over small things, right? And I think I wish fathers
Yeah,
could read this
yeah.
too. And that statement is very powerful, right? That it's okay to cry at times, right? Because it's okay to feel certain things. I think that's what the key learning from this book is. It's okay to feel emotions, certain emotions. What's more important is to understand. First, you have to accept the emotions of your other family members and support them in dealing with their emotions, and help them deal with them positively and manage them in that way. So it's like a lot of people. Like I said, the last point I would like to make today is that a lot of people think it's bad to be emotional. And like that's a sad part of our society, right? And then they, whether it's men or women, a lot of them think, oh, she's too emotional. They think it's bad to be emotional, right? I think that is the norm we are trying to break from this book, right? I hope when people read this book, they understand that it's okay to have certain emotions, right? But you have to learn how to manage or understand and accept
Yeah.
them, right? So
Yeah.
that's very important.
Great. So we have some nice comments. One viewer has said, I love the name LitJoy. So when we were talking about Hindi, there's one quote on, yeah, some kids are
Yeah.
intimidated.
Mm.
And one parent has said, yeah, he feels traumatized. I think this book will really help him.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Ekta. It was such a lovely, session with you. Thanks for bringing us so much of, pearls of wisdom. I am really happy that we did this session today on Emotional Health Day. So I will urge everyone to, say it's okay to be not okay. Take care of your, current situation. Being sensitive is not an issue. It's how you handle your situation and you make the most of it, and you rise above the challenges is what is important. Please do go through the websites and the social media handles. Ekta is there and she's on our page. She's there for any queries. Do keep in touch. And thank you, Ekta, for taking out time. And we wish you all the best for Family Affairs.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for this opportunity again.
Bye bye. Good day,
Bye.
everyone.